Come, Nerevar, come. It has been a while since our last tier list. Today, we will be officially going over the Elder Scrolls games tier list. Yes, I have broken down these games individually a few eras ago, but I have never ranked them before. Don't question me, I'm a god. How dare you question a god? We begin with the Elder Scrolls Arena. This is the very first game in the Elder Scrolls series. And if you think I am going to go easy on this game just because it was Bethesda's first attempt at making a game, you'd be absolutely incorrect. Arena does have that 90s RPG charm to it. The creatures and the villains are almost your generic crowd. Some evil-looking wizard Enwa takes over the mongrel dogs of the Empire and tosses the mongrel dog Emperor into Oblivion. The Eternal Champion travels all of pixelated Tamriel, exploring different corners. He even gets to meet me on the Red Mountain, but this was long before your arrival, Nerevar. In any case, the definition of this game is, tell me this is a Dungeons & Dragons game without telling me it is a Dungeons & Dragons game. In any case, Dagoth Ur is generic. The game is generic and frankly not very easy to play. D tier only because I, Dagoth Ur, made an appearance. Otherwise I would have created an F tier for it. The Elder Scrolls 2. Daggerfall is a massive improvement over Arena. The world is a lot bigger. The mechanics are a lot more... No, that would be a lie. The mechanics are clunky, and the game is full of bugs, so much so it was known as Buggerfall. You don't see Morrowind being ported to Unity, but the fact that Daggerfall it is a sign that the game's original engine aged worse than Yagrum Bagarn's original legs. Generally, the plot of the game is somewhat exciting, and the Enwa provinces of High Rock and Hammerfell are quite interesting when it comes to their lore. Daggerfall holds its own compared to Arena. The NPCs, the creatures, and the locations actually stand out, although because the whole world is procedurally generated by Enwa magic, it becomes quite repetitive. This is the only Elder Scrolls game that has 6 endings. However, due to the meddling of the false god Akatosh and Zenithar, an event called the Dragon Break occurred. Yes, the Dragon Break is the most ridiculous retcon ability that Akatosh possesses. It is the definition of, in the end, it doesn't really matter. So all endings of Daggerfall are canon, and everyone lives happily ever after. C tier, get this game out of my sight. I will not be taking any questions. An Elder Scrolls Legend Battlespire is basically the wizard school game that Bethesda dabbled in. The Voldemort of this wizard school is Mehrunes Dagon. Yes, Mehrunes Dagon, the Daedric Lord of Destruction, couldn't destroy a school because he stole the wrong protagonist's partner. This joke will never get old, no matter what. My qualms with this game, however, is the fact that it is a linear experience. Instead of being an open-world experience, you only get to move around in Enwa Battle Mage school levels, and that's about it. Not very impressive and forgettable. D tier. The Elder Scrolls Adventures. Redguard is also a very linear, cumbersome experience. You don't even get to choose your character here. You play as the Redguard named Cyrus, and you follow him as he leads the rebellion against Moneybags governor of Stros Mackay, Amiel Richten. You may have seen recently everyone trying to speedrun this game, and honestly, I don't blame them. Playing this game for the plot is just grand and intoxicating innocence. The plot is boring, the mechanics are clunky, and the graphics are very ugly. It is a total waste of time. This game almost bankrupted Bethesda and prevented me from ever achieving my full potential. Imagine if I was just a footnote in Arena? D tier. You might be saying, Lord Dagoth, why are you so harsh on all of the old Elder Scrolls games? They have a certain charm to them, and to that I will say, is this how you honor the 6th house and the tribe unmourned? Repent by writing on the parchment down below and subscribing to my sermons. Finally, we get to the crown jewel of the Elder Scrolls games. The Elder Scrolls 3, Morrowind. This is the first Elder Scrolls game to have DLC and the ability to be modded. Truly, it honors the 6th house and the tribe unmourned. Nerevar, this is where you thrive and for the very first time understand that your mission has a purpose. And your purpose is to come to me, Nerevar, through fire and war. Come to the place where destiny is made, and together we will drive the mongrel dogs of the Empire out of Morrowind, Moon, and Star. It introduces you to the island of Vardenfell, only a small portion of the province of Morrowind, but you witness the magnificence of Dunmer cities. Pay no mind to places like Ebonheart, Pelagiad, Caldera, Sedanin, and the mongrel dog of the Empire forts. Those buildings sully the soil of Vardenfell with their Enoir architecture, but look at the Telvanni and their mushroom towers. Look at House Indoril and their elaborate canals in Vivec. Look at House Hlalu and their eclectic stone homes. Look at House Redoran and their shells, and look at the Sixth House and our complex towers. Yes, all other houses sold themselves to the mongrel dogs, but one can still appreciate their architecture. No one here likes Enoirs, and Dunmer culture reigns supreme. Oh, if only I was in charge, I could have made Morrowind completely Enoir-free. Did you know you couldn't go anywhere in Vardenfell beyond the Foreigner Quarter? I wish it stayed that way. The combat in Morrowind is still reliant on the D&D dice roll, however you get used to it, Nerevar. You can create spells, join different factions, and explore whatever part of the island you wish. You can levitate, create complex potions, complete complex quests. The only thing I wanted from this game is for you to side with me. However, you don't, and you strike the heart with the tools of Kagranak. What a fool you are. Also, there are 2 DLC, the Tribunal, where you get to fight Mother Morrowind herself, Almalexia. You also have the Blood Moon DLC, which is basically what Skyrim would have looked like if it came out in 2003. More on DLCs when I do a DLC tier list. Overall, Morrowind deserves the S tier. Ah, the mobile games known as the Elder Scrolls Travels. Stormhold, Dawnstar, and Shadowkey. I am not going to talk about them again. They are forgettable games that no one plays anymore. Seriously, Nerevar, you want me to talk about them on the surface level again? They belong in the D tier. The villains in this game have no consequence for the lore, and they are just absolutely a drag to talk about. Let's move on to something more interesting. Oh, you're still trying to argue? Stormhold is just a prison break. Dawnstar is just some pesky ice tribes, and Shadowkey is focused on the mangled mess that's the Umbra Keth. There, you happy? Now write down, I apologize, Lord Dagoth, on the parchment down below. Ah, the Elder Scrolls 4. Oblivion. The game where the protagonist is being slowly driven mad by the amounts of the most insane quests in all of Elder Scrolls games. Nerevar, the quests in Morrowind were creative and they were out there. But Oblivion is on a completely different level. Invisible villages, raining dogs that are on fire, godly amounts of cheese, that one hotel boat getting hijacked, the crazy hack-dirt inbred brethren, the whole Shivering Isles plotline, an Aedra fighting a Daedra, a severed head, Manimarco, a goblin village that is totally not an Enoir village after the hero of Kvatch ingests hissed sap, Nocturnal's grey cowl, and many other shenanigans. It's almost like this game wasn't developed by Todd Howard himself, but by Sheogorath, the Daedric Prince of Madness himself. Mehrunes Dagon makes an appearance once more, but honestly, the mastermind behind his arrival to Nurm is not Mehrunes himself. He is dumber than Grandmaster Joffrey. Mankar Cameron is the mastermind behind the whole crisis, as he used the mythic Dawn to orchestrate the assassination of the Emperor, which in turn led to the opening of the gates of Oblivion. Oh, and he was smart enough to break into a wooden chest, so props to him. Anyhow, the hero of Kvatch and Martin Septim saved the day. You know the drill, not to mention that mantling Pelennor Whitestrake lets the hero of Kvatch become the Terminator. Eventually, it all culminates with the hero becoming Sheogorath. What a wild ride. It belongs in the A tier. Ah, Skyrim. Now, Skyrim of yesteryears differs from Skyrim of today, so we're going to talk about them in different contexts. The Skyrim of yesteryears was a bug-riddled mess, and in retrospect should not have been released the way it was. They put the cart before the horse, no, literally, Nerevar. In the opening scene, sometimes the cart went in front of the horse. Then when the Dragonborn arrived to Riverwood, his very first instinct was probably to attack a chicken. I mean, back then, it was revolutionary. A chicken in an Elder Scrolls game that wasn't added by mods. Of course, the primal reaction would have been to attack the chicken. Little did anyone know that it takes a whole village to raise a chicken. They attack you with all their might. Not to mention other bugs where quests could not be completed, the constant clipping of the Dragonborn through the floor, the NPCs getting in each other's paths and T-posing, the dragons gliding through the air instead of actually flying. Bethesda really expected the modders to fix their problems, and they did. The main plot of the game is probably the most generic in the Elder Scrolls history. Oh, dragons have returned. Oh yes, Alduin, so scary. Honestly, it would have been so much better if the mongrel dog of the Empire, Uriel the Firth, came back from Akavir riding a dragon. What did we get instead? Delphine, Esbern, Alduin, and Parthenax. Oh right, and the Dragonborn, whose only job is to be a Karen to the dragons by shouting at them. The shouts can be useful, but they are not that useful, Nerevar. The faction questlines were also not as captivating. Yeah, sure. You had fun with the Dark Brotherhood somewhat, but every other faction? No, not really. Overall, Skyrim of yesteryear, otherwise known as Oldrim, is a B-tier game. However, with the addition of the Dawn Guard and Dragonborn DLCs, the ranking of this game slightly improved. Bethesda might not make the best main quests, but it does make one of the best DLCs. Dawn Guard DLC has a much better storyline than the main quest. You travel with Serana through the most unique locations in Skyrim, and Serana is a fully fledged and developed character, unlike most of the other Enwas in this game. The Dragonborn DLC gets kind of tedious in the Apocrypha, but it also has a solid plotline. Miraak is kind of an idiotic antagonist, but he is way better than Alduin, and the final battle with him is quite memorable. Overall, with the improvement of the game during the Special Edition and the Anniversary Editions and the recent developments in the modding scene, I will give the Anniversary Edition S tier. I don't think this place is earned, but because Bethesda stalled on releasing Elder Scrolls 6 and re-released Skyrim multiple times, it did actually ascend to S tier. Elder Scrolls Online had a rough start, and the fact that it is an MMO and a lore black hole does not help. However, with the releases of new DLCs, and it literally being the only game in the series that allows you to see provinces that you couldn't see otherwise, is a milestone no other Elder Scrolls game has reached. However, I find the fact that the books from the 3rd and 4th eras being available in the 2nd era absolutely ridiculous. Like, couldn't someone just read these books and use the history to their advantage? All in all, Elder Scrolls Online is a complicated mess that I, once again, still have yet to explore. B tier. I am sorry, but I cannot put it with the disasters that are in C or D tier. Give it some credit. Elder Scrolls. Legends is basically the Yu-Gi-Oh! Of the Elder Scrolls. You get a bunch of cards and you play them right, and you win. Nothing too special. It could be fun for the most extreme Elder Scrolls fanatics, though. I did sort of enjoy it when it became available at first. C tier, Elder Scrolls Blades. No, C tier just because the graphics don't disappoint as much. Seriously, Bethesda is pulling this game straight out of a Khajiit playbook. No, I am not getting scammed. This is all for today's tier list. Please don't forget to honor the 6th house and the tribe unmourned. The opinions here have been controversial, as I understand, so you may protest somewhat in the parchment down below. I will see you in the next sermon, Nerevar.